Ready, Ken? All right, go ahead.
All right. Well, hey, good morning, everybody. Good to be with you today. And we're in Longs, and everybody's smiling, and we're ready to crank up. No serious damage from the hurricane, too bad, other than some neighbors maybe. But we want to continue our series this week on personal growth, and today's topic is kind of a curious topic. It's called curiosity. But I want to just share some things with you that hopefully will get you thinking outside the box a little bit. Not too long ago, we did a little exercise with a group, and we asked everybody to stand up along the wall, and we said, "Hey, everybody, just reach up and touch as high as you can." So everybody reaches up, touches wall. Hey, mark it. Just kind of look on the wall and see where you touched. Can you go any higher than that? We just ask you to go as high as you can. Can you go any higher? And everybody said, no, I reached as high as I could. But guess what? Almost everybody, once they put their mind to it, went just a little bit higher. And so then we just asked the question, well, how can you reach higher on the wall? Well, most people in the room said, I reached as high as I could. I couldn't reach any further than what I just did. That's as high as I can go. One lady's really smart, and she says, reaches over, grabs a chair, stands in the chair, and goes way up on the wall. And then everybody goes, oh! But what did she do?
Use your resources.
Yeah, she thought outside of the box, right? She asked the question, how can I get higher on the wall? And so she immediately thinks outside the box. And so the point is that you and I can do a lot more if we ask the right questions and we get the right answers. But you got to ask the right questions first. Here's what Albert Einstein said. He said the important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. So the point is you have to be curious about things in order for things to improve. Think about it in just in banking. You get new products, things change, but why? The reason that it changes is because people are asking questions. Where did a second mortgage come from? Whoever thought of a second mortgage, right? Who came up with a home equity line? Somebody was thinking, right? On the commercial side, whoever came up with a variable rate? You know what I mean? They're just things that we take for granted every day that somebody stopped and said, how can we do it better? What can we do? So here's some things. Asking why or why not peels the layers of ordinary thought back. All right, it gets us out of the box and it creates extraordinary thinking. On the personal side, I want you to think about this. Have you asked yourself some questions? One of the first ones I've got on here. What is my purpose? What is it? This is a big picture idea, isn't it? What is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? Have you answered that question? If you hadn't, then you may be just going through the motions, right? You may not even be on the right seat on the bus at the bank. So, but you've got to ask that question. Okay, you got to ask the question. How about this one? Two questions, and it depends on how you phrase it. But why am I not the best employee I can be? Or flip that around, am I the best employee that I can be? So the question, another question is can you get better? Can you be a better employee? Can you be a better teammate? All right. How about this one? Why am I not adding more value to my team? Or flip that around, how can I add more value to my team? Can you do that? Can you add more value to my team? I hope you answer that with a positive. Yes, I can. All right, here's another one. So, what steps do I take to help my team? Think about this one. Why do I choose not to fulfill my potential? Or flip it around, okay, and say this. How can I fulfill my potential? How do I get there? How do I get there? How about this one? Can I be a better spouse? Maybe I need to ask your spouse, right? Yeah. So the issue is that are we asking those questions? I'm gonna jump down and share this with you. I was doing a coaching session with somebody the other day, and I asked this gentleman. I said, well, how about your marriage? How can you improve your marriage? He just shook his head. He said, I don't know. I said, well, just name one thing, one small thing that would improve your marriage. That right now today, one small thing that would improve it, make it better. He said, I just don't know of anything I can do. And I said, well, have you ever asked yourself that question? He said, no, not really. I said, well, if I ask your spouse that question, what would she say? He said, she's probably going to tell you the same thing I'm telling you. I said, really? So anyway, next coaching session, a week later, he comes back in. I said, did you ask your spouse? And he said, no. And I said, why not? And he just kind of looked at me, and here's why. He was afraid to get the answer back. See, he wanted to think that we've got a great marriage, but he really didn't want to ask and get the answer back. And here's why. He probably knew the answer, right? But here's the thing. If he's not willing to ask a question, then he's not going to get an answer. And if he doesn't ask questions and get answers, then nothing changes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's only going to change. I might have mentioned this to you, but had another lady that I was coaching, just a small thing, pick up toys. You know, she's in another class that we're having right now, and she's still talking about the benefits of just taking 5 minutes to pick up toys in her family. You know, just her husband appreciates it so much. So it makes a difference. Ask the question. Ask the question. Here's another one. Do you have a plan? Do I have a plan? Ask yourself that question. Do I have a plan? What is it that I plan to do to get better? Because if you don't have a plan, you what? Plan to fail, right? If you fail to plan. So when you think you've arrived, you're never going to get there. The point is that the bank has got some pretty lofty goals. Would you not agree? Okay, heads are nodding, yes? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how does the bank reach those goals? Does it just come natural? You guys just come in, put the key in the lock, turn it, and good things happen, right?
Gotta work at it.
Yeah, you've got to have a plan. But here's the thing. You've also got to get better. How do you attract better customers? You have to be a better banker. All right, you've got to develop those relationship skills. You've got to develop those hard banking skills. You've got to know your trade craft. You've got to put your plans in place. So you've got to get better. Well, here's the thing. How about at home? How is it that you get better? You're going to have some, you know, many of you will have tough situations at home with kids or grandkids. So how is it that you add value to that situation? How is it that you bring wisdom and knowledge and understanding, or maybe even just simply controlling your emotions? You know, I talk to a lot of people, and one of the biggest problems they've got in life is controlling what they say, filtering what they say. Think about this. How many situations in your life could you have made better had you just filtered what you said? A lot, absolutely a bunch, right? But if we're not aware that that's an issue we've got, what do? We continue doing the same thing, right? So here's the thing. James Allen is an author. He said this, and if you hadn't read this book, by the way, this is a good one. It's a little short read, only about 37 pages, but you'll like it. As a man thinketh, so he is. All right, you'll hear me use that quote a lot. It is absolutely true. As a man thinketh, so he is. So listen, point is, a lot of people don't think. They never ask any questions. They don't think about it. They just get up and go through the routine. So what I'm trying to challenge you today is question your routine. Question what you do, because that's how things get better. All right? That's how things get better. So be curious. A beginner's mindset versus a know-it-all mindset. I end up talking to a lot of people that don't really want to talk to me. And the reason they don't want to talk to me is because they already know it all. They don't want to learn anything new. They don't want to be any different. They think they've got it all figured out. And not that I have it all figured out, but they don't want to be challenged in the way they think. They like their little sandbox that they play in because it's comfortable. And people don't want to be pushed outside of their comfort zone. I had a couple I was counseling, it's been a few months ago, and we only met one time. And the reason we met one time is because the husband liked the way things were. Now the wife was miserable, but he liked it the way it was. So he refused to change. So guess what? They continue to struggle. Marriage is teetering because he didn't want to do anything any different. So ask those questions. It'll make a big difference. All right, here's the thing. If you know all the answers, then you're not asking the right questions. Think about that. If you already got it all figured out, then obviously you just aren't asking the right things, because none of us are that smart, right? None of us are that good. We can all get better. I'll ask my wife sometimes, and boy, it's painful. I'll just say, how am I doing? You know, I mean, There's some things I'm working on, trying to improve on. How am I doing? And guess what? Sometimes it's kind of a pinch. Sometimes it's a kick in the shin. I think I mentioned to y'all before, one of the things I'm really trying to work on is being a better listener. I'm just not a good listener. I hate to say that. It pains me to say it. But you know what? I'm working on it and I'm working on it. And the other day I asked my wife, I said, how am I doing? She says, you're doing terrible. You're awful. You know, and I said, yeah, but I'm working on it. She said, you need to work harder. She said, I'm not seeing any sweat here. And I said, oh, you know, and you know what? She was right. Because then what happens is that self-awareness kicks in, and I found myself cutting her off in her sentences. I found myself asking her, what did you say again? Were you talking to me? And she's like, you're the only other one in the room. Who do you think I'm talking to? And I'm like, oh, you got me again, right? And so I got to get better. But listen, if I'm not asking that question, what's happening? She continues to be frustrated because I'm not making her important, right? Mm-hmm. And that seems like a little thing. But you know what one of the most powerful things in the world is? Just simple things. Simple things. If you go to a customer and you know their name, is that powerful? Mm-hmm. I walked into a customer's office one day and went in, and he said, you know, I've been in business 25 years and you're the first banker that's ever walked in my office. Do you know what? I switched insurance agents. Do you know why I switched insurance agents? 35 years. I've been with one insurance agent. 35 years. Do you know why I switched?
He didn't know your name.
He didn't know my name. Saw his wife. Saw her twice a week. Mm-hmm. She couldn't say hello and call my name. And I thought, 35 years? Do y'all know how much I pay for insurance? 35 years? Guess what? Switched insurance agents. Guess what the insurance agent did? First week. Not only did he call my name, he walked in my office. Mm-hmm. Sat down, talked with me. Let's go to lunch. Guess what? He's in my speed dial. I consider him a close friend today. Guess where my insurance is at?
The other place?
Do I get a quote? No. What do I do? Hey man, I'm changing cars. Hey man, I need life insurance. Hey man, I need business insurance. Hey.
And of course you're referring.
Absolutely. Hey, he's the man. As far in the insurance, he walks on water. I'm telling you. But you see the little things, okay? So you got to be curious about those things. All right, here we go. Hang out with curious people. You know, I tell my daughter all the time, she's 19 and she hadn't figured this crowd thing out. You know, so she hangs with the wrong crowd sometimes. And she was talking with me the other day and she said this. She said, Daddy, I still want to try to work at the White House. She's majoring in political science and she said, I want to work at the White House. And I said, well, you got to hang out with people who want to work at the White House. I said, you can't hang out with people who don't even know where the White House is at. All right, their idea of the White House was 2 doors down, right? That's not where that's not the people you hang out with. Listen, I said, if you've got big dreams and big ideas, you got to hang out with people who buy into big dreams and big ideas. You know, if people are thinking this big, guess how big you're going to think if that's who you hang out with? Yeah, they're going to shrink you. So be curious because what? Listen, if I want to have just a fantastic marriage, guess who I better be hanging out with? People who want fantastic marriages, right? If I'm hanging out with guys who don't care about their marriage, don't really care about their wife, it's just something they did a long time ago and they still do, right? They're going through the motions, then what does that do for me? It influences me, right? I mean, it has an impact. You know, I always laugh at people when they talk about, oh, well, that doesn't really bother me. I don't really think like that. I'm trying to help them. But I tell people this, listen, you're going to sink to your lowest common denominator in relationships. So if you think you're going to go in and change people, it's not going to happen. All right? It's not going to happen. So here's the curious thing. You got to hang out with curious people because you and I have got to learn new things every day. We've got to learn new things. If we don't learn new things every day, what are we doing? Yeah, we're doing the same old thing that we've been doing, right? And so we've got to change. So here's another idea. Failure is progress if we learn from it. I talk to so many people that are scared to death to make a mistake. They're scared to death to take a chance and take a risk. But you know what? Business is built on risk. We have to manage risk. You know, that's our job in banking, is to manage risk, right? We take risk every day, and we better be really good at it. You realize that in banking, you got to be right 99% of the time. You realize that, right? Tanya's looking at me and smiling. Yeah, go over 1% past dues and see what happens, right? So you got to be right 99% of the time. But here's the thing, it's okay to take a chance, and I'm not saying take additional risk in banking, but personally, we have to take a risk, get out of our comfort zone, and be okay to make a mistake, because that's where we really learn at, right? You know where I've learned the most memorable lessons in my life is when I've had failures. Okay, my first marriage didn't work out real well. Guess what? Did I do my second marriage the same way?
No.
Well, in Horry County, I'd say shine no. Right? I changed everything. The biggest thing I changed was what? Me. Absolutely. First marriage, I didn't ask any questions because I wanted to do it my way. Listen, when you do it your way, you don't ask questions. You just tell everybody the way it should be, right? Second marriage, what did I do?
You listened.
I asked a bunch of questions, right? I still ask a lot of questions. And it pays off huge, okay? It pays off huge. All right, here's some things. Look for options. Look for options, always. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is not an option. Y'all heard that said before? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's really not an option. 'Cause here's why. If it ain't broke, how can we make it better? Right? It can still get better, even if it's working. So if it ain't broke, when will it break? There's the question, right? Because eventually it's going to stop working because other things are going to get better around it, right? So, and if it ain't broke, how long will it last? So the point is you can throw some questions on that, and it throws that whole idea of leave things alone out of the window, because eventually things are going to have to change. Here's an author, Roger von Oak, and he said this: almost every advance in art, cooking, medicine, agriculture, engineering, marketing, politics, education, and design has occurred when someone challenged the rules and tried another approach. Just said, let's do it differently. Think about this. Think about it. Think about the improvements in your home that we enjoy every single day. How did that happen? I mean, who said let's let ice drop out of a door? Right? Isn't that pretty cool? I mean, who came up with a microwave? What would you do without that? How about this? How about a Keurig? I mean, who came up with a K-cup? I mean, was somebody not thinking outside the box a little bit? I mean, a coffee pot's pretty cool, right? The old coffee mate, I mean, that was pretty cool. But somebody said there's a better way. But they had to be thinking to do it. And the same thing happens in this office. Is there a better way? It might be simple things. Is there a better way to do lunch? You know, is there a better way for traffic to flow through our lobbies? Is there a better way to answer the phones? I talked to a company yesterday, and when I called and they answered the phone, they have kind of a long name and a long address when they answer the phone. And so after about 8 or 10 words, I understood nothing the lady said. Zero. She said it so fast, it sounded like brrr. And I was just sitting there, and then I just asked for who I wanted. And I thought to myself, y'all need to stop, slow down, and ask a question. How can we do this better? Because this is terrible. You know, this I had no idea who I was talking to, or even what company I had called, because it just went brrr. So the point is just little things, little things. What was the impression I had of this company? Yeah, what the impression I got was I'm not important, because she was in such a hurry to answer the phone that she just blurted it out. Well, the problem with that is that it made a poor impression on me. Okay, it made a poor impression. There's a story that we tell sometimes, and this is a John Maxwell story, but there was a company in Britain that was a transportation company. and it was kind of a company that was subcontracted out to do public transportation. And so they were going to hire a new marketing company to help them improve their image. So the marketing company invited them to come in and to meet at the marketing company's office. Well, when the transportation folks walked in, it was trash on the floor, chairs were all out of whack. The lady behind the desk just said, "Y'all have a seat, be with you in a few minutes." The place was dirty. You know, I mean, they came in and just thought, "You're trying to get our business, and we're coming into an office that looks like this, and the lady's not even paying us attention." Kept them waiting about 20 minutes. Never asked them anything, just kind of left them there. So they got ready to walk out, and then the president of the marketing company came out and said, "Hey, I'm so glad y'all are here." And they said, "Well, we're about to leave." And he said, No, we need to talk a little bit. And the transportation people said, "Well, we probably don't have a lot to talk about." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Our office, this is not the way our office normally looks." He said, "We did this just for you." And the transportation company said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Because this is the impression that people have of your business. This is what your company looks like." Think about that. Think about that. How powerful was that? Well, the thing is that nobody ever asked the question, they thought they were going to solve their problem with a marketing campaign. That wasn't their problem, all right? That wasn't their problem. So here's the thing. A lot of times, if you don't ask the right questions, you set about trying to fix things and you're fixing the wrong thing, right? You're changing tires when you need to be changing oil. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, here we go. Get over yourself. It's better to look uninformed than to be uninformed. A lot of times we don't want to ask questions. Like I mentioned, the guy I was coaching earlier, he didn't want to ask his wife the question because he was afraid of the answer. But here's the thing. It's better to ask the question and look stupid than to actually be stupid, right? So think about that. So get out of the box. That's the point. Get out of the box. Thomas Edison said this: "There ain't no rules around here. We're trying to accomplish something." So kick the walls down in the way you think. Okay, think about your marriage bigger. Think about your kids bigger. Think about Anderson Brothers Bank bigger. Think about your offices bigger. Think about your role bigger. All right, when you think bigger, what's going to happen? If you think it's small, what happens? Small things, right? If you think bigger, Steve Jobs said this: the people who change the world are the people who are crazy enough to believe they can. Think about that. So if you think you can have a great marriage, or you think you can have a great life, or you think you can raise great kids, or you think you can be a great banker, what's going to happen? It's probably going to happen, right? But if you never think about it, what happens? Not much, right? Not much. Okay, I'm about out of time, so I want to share this with you. Enjoy your life. Asking the right questions can change your life. Change your life. I can't tell you the number of people I talk to on our counseling side of what we do who are just miserable. They're just miserable. And you know why they're miserable? They've never asked themselves one question. They've been programmed to do a certain thing from childhood, and that's what they believe, that's what they think. They never think outside the box. They just get up, they go to work, go through the motions, and do it all again the next day. They never think they can improve. And 30 years later, they're still miserable. And listen, you know what they're looking for then? They're looking for retirement. And you know what retirement is? To them? Escape. I've escaped the last 30 years. I finally got to retirement. What a way to live, right? Who wants to live like that? I hope you don't. So here's the thing. Keep it fun so you don't burn out. Keep it fun so you don't burn out, because you can burn out. And here's what Dorothy Parker said, and I'm going to leave you with this. The cure for boredom is curiosity, but there is no cure for curiosity. Okay? All right. Appreciate you guys. Thank y'all for letting me be with you today. All right. Thanks.
Debbie, put this on Joyce. She wants to.
Hey, how's it going?
we don't